2025 MLB Trade Deadline. Biggest impact deals, surprises explained. The 2025 MLB Trade Deadline was a roller coaster of blockbuster moves, jaw-dropping surprises, and high-stakes gambles. As teams scrambled to bolster their rosters for the stretch run, the chaos left fans buzzing and experts divided. But here's where it gets controversial. Not all the big names lived up to the hype, and some under-the-radar additions could steal the show. Let's break down the biggest winners, losers, and jaw-dropping twists from this year's deadline frenzy. Who's the MVP of deadline deals? The runaway favorite among experts is Eugenio Suárez, who returned to the Mariners after being acquired from the D-backs. With 36 home runs already this season, the third baseman is a power-hitting machine that Seattle desperately needed. His arrival gives the Mariners a much-needed jolt in their lineup as they chase a playoff spot. But here's where it gets spicy. While Suarez's bat fits perfectly, can his defense at third base hold up under playoff pressure? That's the $64,000 question. Close behind was Jhoan Duran's blockbuster move to the Phillies, where he'll anchor their bullpen. The cost? A package that included top pitching prospect Mick Abel and catching prospect Eduardo Tate. The Phillies are banking on Duran's 98-mile-per-hour heat and sharp slider to close games. But is it worth giving up such young talent? Comment below. Was this trade a masterstroke or a risky gamble? Who's the playoff X-factor? Carlos Correa's return to the Astros had voters buzzing. With 334 postseason plate appearances and a .272 average, Correa is no stranger to October pressure. Now, with Isaac Paredes sidelined by injury, the Astros might lean on Correa's bat and glove to fill gaps. But here's the twist. Correa hasn't played third base in years. Can he adapt quickly enough to make a difference in the playoffs? Or is this a setup for disappointment? Then there's Mason Miller, the Padres' new flame-throwing closer. At just 23, Miller's triple-digit fastballs and devastating sliders could dominate October. The only catch? He's never faced playoff pressure before. But hey, that's the thrill of it, right? Will his inexperience cost the Padres, or will he rise to the occasion? Let's hear your take in the comments. Who won the deadline arms race? The Padres are the clear darlings of the trade market, pulling off a jaw-dropping haul. They landed Miller, J.P. Sears, Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano, and even Nestor Cortez Jr. GM A.J. Preller didn't hold back. But was this all-around upgrade sustainable? Or is San Diego overextending for a one-year push? Meanwhile, the Mariners and Mets also made waves, but the Padres' depth in rotation, bullpen, and lineup gives them the edge. Could this be the team to beat in the West? And here's a curveball. The Athletics, despite losing Miller, might have won the deadline. They netted Leo DeVries. The 18-year-old shortstop ranked MLB Pipeline's #1. 3 prospect plus Braden Nett and others. The A's are betting big on their farm system. Was this a bold rebuild move or a desperate sell-off? The future will tell. Who dropped the ball? If there's one team that left fans scratching their heads, it's the Cubs. They added Willie Castro, Michael Soroka, and Taylor Rogers, but in an NL Central race where every run counts, those moves feel like rearranging deck chairs. With Justin Steele out for the season and Taillon injured, wasn't it time to go all in? The Red Sox fared no better, acquiring Steven Matz and Dustin May, but falling short of their winter blockbuster, Garrett Crochet. Was their hesitation a sign of a team in transition or a strategic misstep? The shockers of the deadline. No trade had more jaws dropping than Carlos Correa's return to Houston. After years of drama, the Twins finally moved on from their franchise icon, only to send him back to where it all began. Was it poetic justice or a PR nightmare for the Astros? And let's not forget Mason Miller's blockbuster to the Padres. The A's didn't even use him in a safe situation before trading him. Yet they landed a generational prospect in DeVries. Was this the best deadline trade of all time, or just a wild gamble that paid off? Your turn to weigh in. So what do you think? Was the Cubs' underwhelming deadline a sign of a team in transition or a strategic misstep? Did the Padres' all-in approach set them up for a championship run? Or is it a recipe for collapse? And can Correa's return to the Astros be the spark they need in October? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. MLB Trade Deadline 2025, Best Worst Moves, Biggest Overpays, and more. The MLB Trade Deadline was a whirlwind event, leaving many fans pondering whether their teams made the right moves. Did your team come out on top, or are you left feeling a little disheartened? In what could be characterized as utterly chaotic, this particular trade deadline will be chiefly remembered for sellers securing impressive packages of young talent in exchange for trusted, veteran players who are under club control. Teams looking to contend this season were largely prepared to meet these lofty demands, leading to a flurry of action. On the offensive front, the Seattle Mariners made significant headlines by bolstering their lineup, while the Philadelphia Phillies and New York Mets focused on fortifying their bullpens. The San Diego Padres took a balanced approach, acquiring impactful players for both their batting lineup and their pitching staff. As part of my annual tradition following the trade deadline, I provide a roundup of highlights and lowlights for all 30 teams. And today, I'm sharing my insights into the most noteworthy trades from this season's deadline. Let's take a closer look at the best and worst transactions made. Top trade: the Toronto Blue Jays' acquisition of Shane Bieber from the Cleveland Guardians stands out as this year's best. Bieber has been impressive during his rehab starts while recovering from Tommy John surgery. Having previously nabbed the 2020 American League Cy Young Award, his career stats of 62 wins, 32 losses, and an ERA of 3.22 highlight his potential to make a significant impact come October. Additionally, he offers the Jays a strong option for the rotation heading into 2026, even though he has the choice to decline his player option. All things considered, this deal appears to be a significant win for Toronto. Least favorable trade. On the flip side, the Cincinnati Reds trade for Ke'Bryan Hayes from the Pittsburgh Pirates is a head-scratcher. While Hayes possesses Gold Glove-worthy defensive skills, his entire contract, which extends through 2029 and includes about $38 million, seems like a substantial risk for a small-market team like Cincinnati. Considering Hayes' struggles at the plate, where he batted just .230 across his last 1,000 at-bats with an average of merely 3 home runs per season, this trade raises concerns about long-term commitments. Top buyers: the Mariners and Padres emerged as the most proactive teams during this trade season. Seattle boosted its roster by adding powerhouse hitters Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suárez to bolster their infield, while also bringing in left-handed reliever Caleb Ferguson for additional bullpen support. San Diego wasn't far behind, acquiring a dominant closer in Mason Miller, along with steady back-end starter J.P. Sears, plus impactful hitters like Ramon Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn. Best sellers: the Baltimore Orioles and Minnesota Twins excelled in capitalizing on their trading opportunities. Every trade Baltimore made yielded a solid return, while Minnesota made an even bolder move by trading a substantial portion of their bullpen, a dependable starter in Chris Paddock, their franchise player Carlos Correa, and utility player Willie Castro, amidst others. They acquired a total of 13 players, highlighted by landing top prospects in exchange for closer Jhoan Duran. Most effective at standing firm, the Miami Marlins displayed prudence by opting to hold on to their controllable pitchers, Sandy Alcantara and Edward Cabrera, after considering offers that didn't meet their satisfaction. With the team experiencing a resurgence, waiting could prove beneficial, especially for Alcantara if he returns to his previous form. Worst decision to hold steady. In contrast, the Los Angeles Angels chose to maintain their current roster, acquiring veteran relievers Andrew Chafin and Luis Garcia, and backup infielder Oswald Peraza. However, in this age of aggressive trading, they should have considered selling. By offloading players like closer Kenley Jansen and left fielder Taylor Ward, they could have secured promising prospects that would have sped up their return to competitiveness. Given their current standing, making a playoff push seems highly unlikely this year. Strangest trade: the Boston Red Sox's decision to acquire veteran lefty Steven Matz from the Cardinals for first base prospect Blaze Jordan was puzzling. trading for a 34-year-old who failed to secure a regular starting role and is set to hit free agency while sacrificing a promising young talent raises many eyebrows. Jordan has been performing exceptionally well in the minors, showing a batting average around .304. Largest overpay, the New York Mets deal involving prospects Blade Tidwell and Drew Gilbert, along with reliever Jose Butto. Traded to the San Francisco Giants in exchange for Tyler Rogers is one of the more head-scratching moves, sacrificing 3 potential future stars for a player that would only be around for 2 months seems excessive, particularly if Gilbert develops into a key player. Trading only 2 of the 3 prospects may have been a more balanced decision. Best position player move. Rafael Devers landed in San Francisco as part of a marquee trade with the Red Sox back in mid-June. Meanwhile, Eugenio Suárez excelled among players dealt in July, ranking just behind notable home run hitters like Cal Raleigh, Shohei Ohtani, Kyle Schwarber, and Aaron Judge. Top starting pitchers traded. Shane Bieber tops the list of starting pitchers dealt, despite not having thrown a pitch at the major league level this season. Merrill Kelly was another significant acquisition, with the Texas Rangers making a sharp, last-minute trade to acquire him. Best relievers traded. Among the standout relievers were Mason Miller, who shifted from the Athletics to the Padres, and Jhoan Duran, who was picked up by the Phillies from the Twins. Most under-the-radar reliever move. The Twins' trade of Danny Colon, whose outstanding 1.09 ERA over 42 appearances speaks volumes, is noteworthy. He's displayed effectiveness against both right-handed and left-handed hitters, making his acquisition by the Rangers particularly clever. Best prospect traded. The standout prospect swap involved Leo DeVries, a key element for the A's in the trade involving Mason Miller going to the Padres. DeVries is currently ranked as the number 13 prospect in the league according to the Athletics' Keith Law. Most heartfelt reunion. Carlos Correa's return to Houston was met with excitement, rekindling memories of his crucial role in the team's history. Particularly during their 2017 World Series victory, his timely performances, highlighted by clutch home runs in past postseason games, made his emotional comeback significant for Astros fans. Best combined player additions. The Seattle Mariners' savvy moves to secure both Eugenio Suárez and Josh Naylor from the Diamondbacks, along with the Padres' successful additions of Ramon Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn from the Orioles, provided substantial boosts for both teams' lineups. Inventive executive moves. Dodgers president of baseball operations Andrew Friedman has once again showcased his tactical acumen by orchestrating a 3-way trade, acquiring pitchers Adam Serwinowski, Paul Gervais, and catcher Ben Rortvedt. Most comprehensive bullpen dump. The Minnesota Twins pulled off a remarkable feat by trading away 5 relievers, a decision that might not find any precedent in recent seasons. Losing Jhoan Duran, Griffin Jax, Brock Stewart, Louis Varland, and Danny Colomb in various trades demonstrates a truly unusual strategy. Front office that demanded too much. Various general managers expressed that the Red Sox's front office might have overvalued their players during negotiations, potentially limiting their trading opportunities. Front office that overtraded. Selling off too many players can risk alienating your fan base, and it appears the Twins may have fallen into this trap. By trading 11 players, including many key components of their roster, they may have pushed their loyal supporters away. Trade that should have happened. Staying with Joe Ryan, the all-star pitcher for the Twins, was another significant piece who should have been exchanged. While it's true that Minnesota should not have gone too far with trades, Ryan's value in a strong market could have brought back substantial prospects. Acquisition that raised eyebrows. The Rays' decision to acquire Brian Baker from the Orioles in exchange for a competitive balanced draft pick was perplexing. Giving away the number 37 overall pick for a reliever, especially for a small market team like Tampa Bay that thrives on building through drafting, seemed counterproductive. Champagne-popping fan clubs. Among National League fans, none celebrated more than the Padres, who added star players like Mason Miller, J.P. Sears, Ramon Laureano. and Ryan O'Hearn to their roster. In the American League, the Mariners fans celebrated with the arrivals of Eugenio Suárez, Josh Naylor, and Caleb Ferguson. Their general manager, Jerry Dipoto, certainly delivered. Meanwhile, Red Sox fans experienced radio silence as their front office built up high expectations only to fail to make impactful trades in their bid to surpass the Blue Jays and Yankees. Credit where it's due, however. The Red Sox have been on a winning spree lately, achieving one of the best records in baseball since June 1st. Too much quantity, not enough quality. The Detroit Tigers managed to acquire several back-end rotation starters like Charlie Morton and Chris Paddock, along with 4 relievers to enhance their bullpen. However, they missed out on acquiring the high-caliber reliever or quality right-handed hitter needed for deep postseason play. Best move is extending an executive. The Cubs made a savvy choice by extending Jed Hoyer's contract, the team's president of baseball operations, which was both deserved and overdue. While the Cubs also made smart moves in trading for reliever Andrew Kittredge and utility player Willie Castro, a more significant trade may have been warranted to secure their position against the Brewers in the tough NL Central race. A trade that would have been interesting. Imagine if the Boston Red Sox had traded for RHP Joe Ryan from the Twins, sending outfielder Jostinson Garcia, left-handed pitcher Peyton Toll, and shortstop Dorian Soto in exchange. That scenario would have surely sparked conversations among fans and analysts alike. As for me, I'm already buzzing with excitement for next year's trade deadline. Can't wait to see what unfolds. MLB Trade Deadline 2023. Yankees Mets win big, Red Sox Twins lose out. Full breakdown. Major League Baseball's trade deadline is often a whirlwind of excitement, akin to a Christmas in July, where the most coveted players are the gifts. But beneath the surface, the strategies of different teams can be a mixed bag. This year, 2 trends were particularly evident. Teams were reluctant to trade their top prospects, and there was an insatiable demand for relief pitching as contenders looked ahead to the playoffs. Digging into the numbers, we see that 63 prospects within the top 30 of their previous teams were traded in the 7 days leading up to the deadline. But only 3 of these prospects were ranked in the top 100 across the sport. This suggests that while teams are willing to trade, they're cautious about parting with their most promising young talent. Locally, the Yankees and Mets were among the big winners. The Yankees made 7 trades, managing to acquire top talent without sacrificing their most prized prospects. The Mets, on the other hand, drew the line at their 8th-ranked prospect, infielder Jesus Baez, in a deal for Cardinals closer Ryan Helsley. Mets president David Stearns emphasized the focus on acquiring amateur talent and developing players, which allowed them to make strategic moves without compromising their future. The bullpen was a hot topic at the deadline, with several top-tier relievers changing teams. Names like David Bednar, Jhoan Duran, and Mason Miller were among those who switched uniforms. However, the most interesting point is that despite all the activity, there were no trades involving front-line starting pitchers. Merrill Kelly, Charlie Morton, and Shane Bieber were among those moved, but the market for aces remained quiet. So who were the winners and losers of this year's trade season? Let's take a closer look. Winners, on the other hand, drew the line at their 8th-ranked prospect, infielder Jesus Baez, in a deal for Cardinals closer Ryan Helsley. Mets president David Stearns emphasized the focus on acquiring amateur talent and developing players, which allowed them to make strategic moves without compromising their future. The bullpen was a hot topic at the deadline, with several top-tier relievers changing teams. Names like David Bednar, Jhoan Duran, and Shane Bieber were among those moved, but the market for aces remained quiet. So, who were the winners and losers of this year's trade season? Let's take a closer look. And Mason Miller were among those who switched uniforms. However, first, their aggressive pursuit of top-tier relievers and strategic additions like Cedric Mullins solidify their playoff chances. Yankees. Brian Cashman's trades for bullpen reinforcements and upgrades to the bench position the Yankees well for a deep playoff run. Padres, A.J. Preller's bold moves, including trading for closer Mason Miller, make the Padres a formidable force in the NL. Astros, bringing back Carlos Correa and adding outfielder Jesus Sanchez strengthened their already formidable lineup. Phillies, GM Dave Dombrowski's acquisitions of Jhoan Duran and Harrison Bader give the Phillies a significant boost. Losers, Red Sox, despite their strong play in July, their lack of offensive upgrades at first base leaves them with a questionable roster. Twins, stripping the roster bare at a time when they could have made a push for the playoffs, seems short-sighted. A big F is A. Their lack of aggressive moves leaves them vulnerable in the NL Central race. And this is the part most people miss. What does it say about the state of baseball when teams are more willing to trade relievers than starting pitchers? Is this a sign of a changing strategy or a reflection of the current state of the game? Share your thoughts in the comments below. As always, the trade deadline is a fascinating time in baseball, full of surprises and intrigue. Who do you think came out on top this year? Let's discuss.